Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on when you're watching the video. Welcome to Against the Public for June 11th. I'm Dana Lane. Today, we're going to go through my top 3 Major League Baseball plays for Tuesday, and we'll wrap it up on a report, or with a report, on how teams with a higher or lower OPS, which is on-base percentage plus slugging percentage, how do they fare for bettors against the money line? It's interesting, but again, we find some sweet spots, we find a lot more bitter spots, but still something you might want to put in your arsenal. After the show, please go to Pickdawgz.com, where I'll have my top 3 premium Major League Baseball plays locked and loaded. You can jump onto my single plays, or better yet, I will also have that 3-pack locked and loaded for $49.99. And you know the single plays and the 3-pack all come with our Pick Dawgz win guarantee. You must profit or receive an immediate site credit for the purchase price. Also, there's only one way to become an all-access member. That means you get every one of my selections for one low price. And that's simply to jump on one of those all-access memberships, and you can do that for the next 30 days for less than $11 a day, the next 90 days for less than $10 a day, or better yet, guys, the best offer I have on the board, jump on an annual all-access pass that gives you every play right through the NFL, college football, college basketball, next year's NHL, next year's NBA. You get every play for one low price, and that's by becoming an all-access annual member for just $3.56 a day. And guys, don't sleep on my NHL selections. Absolutely been crushing it, especially on totals. 64% winners over the last 30 days. That's number 1 amongst cappers with at least 21 plays, and 56% winners in the National Hockey League over the last 90 days. I just wanted to highlight the NHL because a lot of people, at this point, at this time of the year, they get involved, but a lot of people just say, I don't bet hockey. Well, once again, it does not matter where the money comes from as long as it does, and we've been killing the National Hockey League. So make sure to get involved. Stanley Cup 2-0 Florida now after tonight's victory. It's going to be a tough road for Edmonton, but also, speaking of a tough road, it's a tough road going back to Edmonton, as we have the 2 teams in the finals that have the largest distance between them. That could play a factor coming up in Game 3. Believe me, this series is not over yet. So let's roll our sleeves up. Let's get to work starting right now. Get to Pickdawgz.com. On to your free plays for Tuesday. And again, remember, these are probable pitchers 20 to 24 hours before first pitch. So just confirm these are the starting pitchers before placing your wager. We're going to start things off 6:35 Eastern Time, 6:59, 6:60 Atlanta Braves against the Baltimore Orioles. Braves minus $1.35, 8 over minus $1.07. Max Fried against Albert Suarez. So far, betting on this matchup has received 91% of the money coming in on the Baltimore Orioles, which makes sense. You have an average team at home getting plus money. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. The total has seen 84% of the money coming in on the over, which means you should probably bet this free play pretty quick before we have to pay more juice. The consensus number on the game was 8.5 for a couple hours, but that did not last, as we are looking at an 8 right now. The consensus number came down, which is great. Lucky for us, again, we'll say that again. Consensus number was 8.5, but lucky for us, it came down, so we're going to take advantage of that. That's what I meant. Fried is coming off a 13 strikeout performance against the Boston Red Sox, allowed just 2 earned runs in 7 innings, 4 hits, an 8-3 victory. Fried has allowed just 3 earned runs in his last 24 innings pitched. That's a 1.13 ERA, folks, and that is fantastic. One of the guys that you actually have a shot with throwing a complete game, and Max Fried. You would think that that's probably also a good formula for betting the under. We've definitely have a team here where the Atlanta Braves have been struggling offensively. Again, you would think, hey, look, Max Fried's on the mound. I'm going to immediately look to the under. But the formula for Max Fried is this: good starting pitching But in addition to the good starting pitching, the Atlanta Braves have scored a ton of runs for him. In fact, 2 of his last 3 outings have resulted in overs because the Braves scored 6.33 runs per game for him. This season, Fried has received 5.52 runs of support per game in his 12 starts. That's pretty good, and that's going to get us almost to that total. Suarez has been terrific, but I think we're going to get just enough offense here to push this over a very reasonable total of 8. So we're going to go over minus $1.07. Game number 2 is 6:40 Eastern Time, 9:03, 9:04. Washington Nationals against the Detroit Tigers. Tigers minus $1.11, 8.5 under minus 11. Mitchell Parker against Kenta Maeda. I know in name alone, this looks like a mismatch, but it's not when you look at the numbers. Maeda is bringing in a 6.25 ERA. It's been a long time since his days in Los Angeles. Gave up 5 earned runs and 4 2/3 and a 7-3 loss to the Red Sox in his last outing. In his last 3 starts, Maeda has allowed 12 earned runs and just 11 2/3 innings, folks. That's a 9.26 ERA, which means the Japanese veteran is not trending in the right direction for us to put our money behind him. In his last 2 starts, the Tigers have been outscored 16-4. We can count on Mitchell Parker to give us 6 innings. He even threw a 7-inning performance against the Atlanta Braves in his last start, allowed 2 earned runs, just 3 hits against a Braves lineup who are a top 10 slugging team, and up until a couple weeks ago, definitely a top 10 offensive team, but has fallen off. Now he faces Detroit, who is 23rd in slugging. Should have plenty of success there. Nationals are the top money-making team in Major League Baseball this year. You heard that right. Of all the teams, all the great teams you would mention before the Nationals against the money line, the Nationals are the number 1 money-making team in the Major League Baseball this year, or in Major League Baseball. Almost 21 units won. I'm going to continue riding them against Detroit. We'll take them and the generous juice minus $1.09. In game number 3, 9:40 Eastern Time, 9:57, 9:58, Chicago White Sox against the Seattle Mariners. Mariners minus 237, 7 under minus 15. Drew Thorpe against Brian Wu. Thorpe's getting his first start. If you've never heard of him, don't worry. Most haven't. He's going to get his first major league start in this game. But what's unique about that is he actually hasn't pitched in AAA. He's going from AA to AAA. He was fantastic at AA. People that I know that have seen him said, look, his 7-1 record in Birmingham is not a fluke. There's a reason why he's getting a start. The total opened up at 7. It appears that that's low enough. It looks like 87% of the money is coming in on the over, despite these two teams that really have to claw their way to runs in 2024. We know how bad the White Sox offense has been this year. They crank out just 7 hits a game. That's not good enough for over bettors when you're 25th in home runs. If you're only getting 7 runners or 7 hits a game, you better be a top 10 team in homers, and they're certainly not. That just indicates it is going to be difficult trying to find runs for the White Sox as it is on most nights. As you would expect, that's the worst mark in baseball. But guess who's right next to them in 29th place in baseball? That's the Seattle Mariners. These are just 2 teams that normally I would say, well, 2 negatives do make a positive on most nights. But when you are this bad, you are this far down the list, I can't see where the runs are coming from. Brian Woo's going to make his 7th start, comes in with a 3-0 record, a 1.07 ERA. I think we're going to have a little bit of a mound battle tomorrow with each starter going deep into the game. Regardless of what happens, I don't think there's going to be enough offense to push this over, even if we're looking at a 7. And they're asking asking you to give $1.15 in juice on this. So the odds makers clearly feel seven's a number. We can't go 6.5. We're not at that point right now. But 7 minus 15. Yeah, we all are in agreement that this game's going to go under the 7. And before we close the show out today, here's your handicapping tip for Tuesday. And I swear to goodness, I'm going to find a tip one day that is just going to, open the pathway to riches. But we hear a lot about stats like the OBP, we hear about slugging, we hear about OPS, but what does that really mean to bettors? And today I'm going to examine how reliable the team with the better OPS is against the money line this year and over the last few years. And in case you don't know what OPS is, it's simply on-base percentage plus slugging percentage, and all these numbers can be easily found on the ESPN website under Major League Baseball and under batting stats. So we'll take the top 10 teams in OPS for our numbers. That's our control group. The cutoff is 718, where the Guardians are at number 10. So teams with an OPS of 718 and over are doing extremely well in 2024. I actually thought I opened up the floodgates to something here. Teams with an OPS of 718 and over are an incredible 320 and 237 this year, a 575 win percentage. And then normally you would say, well, 575 win percentage, but the units probably are down. No, plus 16.01 units in 2024. That's great. I said, okay, let's look at historically. Let's look and see what that's produced for us historically. This is baseball, and we always know there's a price to be paid with a good record. Over the last 2 seasons, teams and that's not including 2024, teams with an OPS of 718 or above are 1,961 wins, 1,649 losses for a win percentage of 545. We know 545 is not going to be good enough to cut it. Minus 148.04 units. So you are definitely, historically, you are paying a price for getting those better teams, and that just has not been good. Record-wise, yeah, you win 55% of your games. Again, baseball presents this incredible opportunity to find winners on an individual basis, but not something you could put a blanket over, which is the money line way, which makes, once again, baseball incredibly hard to wager. We're constantly trying to find maybe a trend to add where we could constantly put our money behind a team, maybe blindly, based upon numbers or a trend or something. Like the NFL, you can find those a lot, but the Major League Baseball, you just can't. I do like to find the bitter and the sweet in a trend, but unfortunately, there's very little sweet here, because if we move the filter up to just the top 5 teams, starting at an OPS of 742, we would just be 141 and 118, a 544 win percentage, minus 7.11 units. So that's less than what we were doing, or what we would have gotten back if we just included the entire top 10. The bitter is very easy to find in this tip. Teams with OPS between 622 and 682, which is the bottom third in Major League Baseball this year, are 339 and 375, just for a win percentage of 475, minus 29.22 units. And that record, if you equate it out to the last 3 years combined, 3,843 wins, 4,533 losses, 459 win percentage, minus 315 units lost. That's not something that we're going to get involved in. Now, you can't just bet against these teams. Because the juice you have to lay. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, look, that number isn't great, but what if I just bet the opposite? Again, you can't do that because of the juice. You have to lay a large amount of juice on most nights with those teams. In fact, those teams as an underdog are just 2,100 wins, 71 losses, 3,242 losses, a 401 win percentage. So you would think, hey, look, well, if I bet against those teams, maybe I have a chance to profit. No, maybe if I went and bet those teams when they were an underdog, getting some plus money, no, that's not going to work, because 40% winners is not going to work for us. The moral of the story is you may want to look at OPS as a way to dwindle your daily card down. Now, a typical 15-game schedule, you could say, okay, these are the teams that are in the bottom third of OPS. I am throwing them out. As a matter of fact, I'm just throwing the game out, even no matter who they're playing. I'm throwing the game out, and then that way, maybe you can, that's a way to take a 15-game card maybe down to, I don't know, 8 games, 7 games, whatever it is. I'm sure there's some math. You take the bottom third away, it just depends on who's playing who. But maybe that's a way to look at this. Now, again, we found something that is great this year so far with the OPS. The problem is history will tell us this is a false start, and this will turn real quick, real soon. It's been a long time since the top 10 OPS teams have given us a profit over the longevity of a season. So far, it's been so far away from 2024 that's not even relevant to talk about at this time. So something that you could put into your handicapping arsenal. Again, sorry, I can't lead you to the path of riches, but again, it is something that you should look at because those numbers are important. They're very impactful. They tell you how good an offense is from day to day. The problem is it's just not something we can put a blanket statement, a blanket over and say, well, this is who we're going to bet on a daily basis. So that is my that's my finding for today. If there's anything you'd like me to research, just drop me a comment on the YouTube channel. I'll get to it if I have the numbers for sure. I love researching all this stuff for you guys. That does it for your tip and free plays for Tuesday. Go to pickdawgz.com. Get involved with one of my many available packages, including my all-access pass that gives you every game that I release for one low price. Here's your Tuesday recap. Atlanta, Baltimore over 8 minus $1.07. Washington minus $1.08. And the Chicago White Sox, Seattle Mariners under 7 minus 15. That does it for today's show. Thank you to everyone who watches on a daily basis and interacts and hits the like button, the subscribe button. Thank you so much to every single one of you. For Against the Public, I'm Dana Lane. All the best to you and your wagers on Tuesday.